This is polynomial degrees and end behavior. Remember from Unit 1, standard form is highest to lowest terms. So that would be like your x third, x squared, plus x to the first, plus your constant. Factored form is when you have your factors, so you have like x, and then plus like p or q, depending on what your numbers are there. Leading coefficient is your leading term, or highest term, with highest exponent. Degree is your highest exponent. So that should be a refresher from Unit 1. End behavior. So we're looking at the graph and seeing what is it doing as it's moving to the left. So this means left as x approaches, because if you're looking at your graph, this is your x-axis and your y-axis. So negative infinity is over here, positive infinity is over here. So that's why it's x arrow negative infinity means left, and x arrow infinity means right. So these are our scenarios for our end behavior. So if your degree is odd, it's going to go down to the left and up to the right. So on the left is negative infinity. So that's negative infinity. And then to the right is positive infinity. If it's odd and negative, then on the left it's positive infinity, and then on the right it's negative infinity. So your odds are your x to the third, x to the first, x to the fifth, any odd number power. If your degree is even, so that's your x squared, x to the fourth, any of those values. And x to the sixth. So anytime you have an even number power, those are going to be the same in both directions. So if it's even and positive, they're both going to infinity. If it's even and negative, then they're both pointing down towards negative infinity. Because remember, on your graphs, these are your positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. So you're looking at what your y values are doing for your graph. All right, it doesn't tell us what it's going on in the middle. It only describes our ends. So we're just looking at where our ends are pointing and going in that direction. All right, so we can do that without graphing these. So we look at the degree when we're looking at end behavior. So we're looking at our highest exponent. So for this first example, that's x to the third. So degree of 3 so that means it's odd. And then we have a negative out front, so negative. So it's odd negative, so that means it's going to be up, then down. So as x approaches negative infinity, y, or f of x, is going to infinity. And then for the right side, so this is the left, the right side as x approaches infinity, y or f of x is going to negative infinity. And you can use your chart to match those. So it was odd and negative. So we're using that odd negative. All right, next we have 2x to the fourth plus 6x plus 7. So our highest exponent is 4, so it's a degree of 4, so it's even. And then we don't have a negative in front, so it's positive. So if you look at your chart, even positive is up and up. So as x goes to the left, y goes to infinity. And remember, y is the same as f of x. They're the same. So if you see that notation either way, y is the same. They're equal to each other. Y and f of x are the same. All right, so that's the left side. Right side, as x approaches positive infinity, y is also going to positive infinity. So these are the answers that you're putting in as your end behavior. Most of your notation will be set for you in your homework, so you'll just be doing the answers of where y is approaching. All right, our last example, so we look at all of our exponents. We have 11, 25, 32, 2, and 0. So our highest is 32, and it's negative. So our degree is 32. So it's even, but it's negative. So we look for that leading term. So it's even negative, so that means it's pointing down, down. So for the left, y is going to be approaching negative infinity. For the right, it's also going to be pointing down, so negative infinity. You can also write these in standard form if you want to, just to make sure you're getting those degrees. So you would do negative 389 x to the 32 plus 23 x to the 25th minus 32 x to the 11. I might have to move my arrows here. And plus 298x squared minus 675. So that would be standard form. All right, when you're in factored form, you're going to have to multiply your x's. So you look at the exponents. So those are going to be x to the first. So x to the first times x to the first is going to be x squared. So the degree is going to be even. And then you look out front for your leading coefficient. So it's even, positive. Oh, our degree is 2. So even positive, that's up and up. So on the left and the right, so y is going to go to positive infinity for both. All right, next one. So x to the first, to the first, to the first. So you have x to the first, x to the first, x to the first. So that's x to the third. So that's a degree of 3. And then that's odd. And then we have a negative in front. So odd, negative. So it's going to be up, then down. And you can always refer back to your chart. So left and right. And then y is going, on the left-hand side is going up, so positive. And then on the right-hand side is going down, so negative. All right, next one. So this has a squared on the outside. So x squared times x to the first times x to the first. So that's going to be x to the fourth. We also have a negative in front. So degree is 4. So it's even, but it's negative. So that means it's going to go down and down. So on the left side, on the right side, our y is going to be approaching negative infinity because it's pointing down and down. All right, and then the last one, so we have an x squared. Also look if you have them in front. So we have our x squared, x to the first, and then x squared. So x squared, x to the first, x squared. So 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. Because remember, when you multiply, you add all of your exponents. So it'd be a degree of 5. It's positive in the front, so it's going to be odd, positive. So that means it's going to start down and then go up. So left and right. So as x approaches negative infinity, as x approaches positive infinity, our y's on the left side starts down, so that's negative infinity, and then on the right it goes up, so positive infinity. So always you're looking at the exponents for these, especially in factored form. You want to look at all of your exponents, and whatever your exponent is, that x is going to get that exponent. And then we're just looking at our variables for these, not your numbers on the inside, variables only, and then the sign that's in the front. All right, and then you can refer back to your chart here for your even, odd, and positive and negative. All right, that is it for the video. If you have any questions while you're working on your assignment, please let me know. Otherwise, you are good to start working.